What's up, everybody? It's AT. Thank you for joining this Aaron Torres Pod YouTube bonus clip. In just one moment, we are going to react to the late breaking news as Kalen Deboer is all but officially the next Alabama football head coach. Cannot believe we are here, yet we are. We are going to break it down from all angles. Will it work? Will it not work? Good, bad, ugly, whatever. Oh, we're diving on in. Before we get to it, though, reminder. If you're not subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel, you see the little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Make sure to click that subscribe button. We're growing this channel. 32K. We just hit 32K. I think we can get to 35K before the end of the month, and we aren't slowing down. Plenty more content, plenty to talk about. We're going to be hitting on everything. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. With that said, let's get to the late breaking news. By the way, you know it is a big piece of news. I got myself a little bit of a different studio space here. The normal white wall that's behind me, oh, it ain't here today. That space is in use. I had to come somewhere else because I had to get out a reaction to the both shocking news, but what I would also call not shocking news, that Kalen Deboer is going to be your next head football coach at Alabama. To me, not shocking only because, I just still can't believe that Nick Saban retired. This was a guy, and he said it last summer. He said, I'll be on the sidelines until I croak. So the idea that he will not be leading Alabama out of the tunnel to start next season is shocking. It's stunning. I think whether it's the first press conference, spring game, whatever, it's going to take a while to get adjusted to Alabama in a post-Nick Saban world. I'm still a little bummed about it. No disrespect to Kalen Deboer and the excitement that he's going to bring to this program, but I'm sad, man. I'm really sad. With that said, though, this isn't surprising because once we did find out that Nick Saban was going to be leaving, was going to be retiring, thankfully we found out there's no health issues, nothing. He's just ready to step away. Once we did get all those details, this was the guy that kind of emerged at the beginning as it felt like the logical successor. We talked about it on Friday morning show, but very early on, Dan Lanning said, I'm not interested. Very early on, we learned that for whatever reason, and I've talked to a lot of people at Alabama this week, I still can't totally figure out why Lane Kiffin is not a legitimate candidate, was not a legitimate candidate. But for whatever reason, Lane Kiffin wasn't. It felt like Deboer was the name that everybody was talking about. I mentioned it on Friday morning show. I said, Colin Cowherd, who's super plugged in the agent world, basically insinuated that they've been vetting Kalen Deboer at Alabama for months. Joel Klatt said, this is the guy. I would be surprised if it isn't Kalen Deboer. And so everything was trending there. It took a little while, but it really didn't take that much. I thought it was interesting. Greg Burns said he wanted a hire within 72 hours. It's at about the 48-hour mark right now as this becomes official. And what I would just say before we get to Kalen Deboer, shout out to Jimmy Sexton, the agent, who basically represents all of these guys. I think from the beginning, Alabama knew Kalen Deboer not only was their guy, but that he was going to take the job. And whether Jimmy Sexton let Greg Byrne in on that secret or not, what seems obvious is that the job did not officially go to Kalen Deboer until all of Jimmy Sexton's other clients got raises. Now, I don't know if Dan Lanning got one because Dan Lanning does it. Dan Lanning's just like, no, I'm at Oregon. Leave me alone. I ain't leaving. But did you notice how it took until Friday morning and then Steve Sarkisian, he got a little promotion, not a promotion, but he got a little bit of a raise. Guess he's not going anywhere. Then about an hour after that, Mike Norvell got a little bit of a raise staying at Florida State. What a shocker. And then a few hours after that, Kalen Deboer gets the job. So shout out to Jimmy Sexton, got two of his clients a raise. And now Kalen Deboer is the head coach. Listen, we're going to have so much coverage of this over the next couple weeks, days, months into next football season. My reaction to this is multifold, though. One, I do understand that there are certain concerns, but I think there's concerns with just about any head coaching hire. I mean, name me a coaching hire other than, frankly, like Nick Saban, Urban Meyer, and maybe Jim Harbaugh, that we all agreed was 100% going to work. And even Jim Harbaugh took till year 9 to win a national championship. So all of these jobs have questions and concerns. There is no perfect candidate. unless Nick Saban somehow gets in a time machine and goes back to 2007 and he's, 58 again or whatever he was when he took the job. But I just bring it up because there are concerns, but I am here to tell you, I truly believe this is going to work. And so let's explain why I think it's going to work, but let's address those concerns up front because I know a lot of people have. One, first off, I will say, I think the Pac-12 was very good this year, the best that it had ever been, which makes it so sad that the whole thing fell apart. But let's admit, the grind of the SEC is completely different than anything that Kalen Deboer has ever been part of. Now, I should even go back and just very quickly, I think everybody knows Kalen Deboer's background, but started his career at a place called Sioux Falls, an NAIA school. I love this story, by the way. I love this story. NAIA school in 5 years. And my understanding is he inherited a pretty good program, but even still, 5 years. How about this? 3 national championships and overall went 67-3. That is the most insane thing that I have ever heard outside of course, what Nick Saban did at Alabama. But here is Kalen Deboer's resume at Sioux Falls, okay? Kalen Deboer's resume at Sioux Falls. Year 1, 11-2 NAIA semifinal. Year 2, 14-0 Natty. Year 3, 13-1 national runner-up. Year 4, 14-0 Natty. Year 5, 15-0 Natty. So this guy started at the low levels. And then I give him credit. He worked his way up from the NAIA level to the FCS level to the Group of 5 level to the Power 5 level. And what was crazy was there were no shortcuts. He wasn't a head coach along the way. As a matter of fact, he left Sioux Falls in 2005, and he did not get another head coaching opportunity until Fresno in 2019, or was it 2020? Let me make sure I get that right. It was actually the 2020 season, the COVID season. He goes 3-3. That doesn't even count, okay? Next year, he goes 9-3. The year after that, he goes to Washington. He goes 11-2 last season and then 14-1 this year. So that's his resume. Literally, he's Drake. Started at the bottom, now he's here, right? But at the same time, let's address some of the positives and negatives of the hire, the concerns, but also the upside as well. The concerns are obviously, look, what I just said. As good as the Pac-12 was this year, it ain't going to be anything like the grind of year 1 of the expanded SEC. Just think about it. We know that going forward, LSU, Auburn, and Tennessee are going to be on the schedule every single year. Most years, you're going to get either Texas or Oklahoma. You're going to get Georgia every other year. We'll see if Florida bounces back. Texas A&M bounces back. Ole Miss is awesome this year. They don't even play Ole Miss. So, you look at Bama's schedule. Let's just pull up Bama's schedule really quick here in the 2024 season. It's crazy. I do know that they play Georgia by the end of September. So you talk about, welcome to the SEC. Let's take a quick look here at what Bama's schedule is. Their schedule is as follows. In 2024, they actually open with Western Kentucky, South Florida, the return game, then at Wisconsin, bye week, Georgia. And I will say from there, it does get a little bit easier at Vandy, South Carolina. Then you play Tennessee, then you play Missouri, then you play LSU, then you play Oklahoma before the Iron Bowl. So you talk about, listen to this as a 4-game stretch. And remember, you've already played Georgia in league play at this time. At Tennessee, Missouri, at LSU, at Oklahoma, before you get to the Iron Bowl. So that is crazy. And listen, if that's your concern, I totally get it. The grind is going to be crazy in the SEC. But guess what? That grind is going to be crazy for everybody in the SEC. Think about it. Do you think Steve Sarkisian, like if you're arguing that Kalen Deboer, can he handle the grind of the SEC? Well, I'd say the same thing about Steve Sarkisian. Can he handle the grind of the SEC? We're about to find out because Texas ain't got it easy either. Can Brent Venables handle the grind of the SEC? We'll find out. Even somebody like Georgia, you don't get South Carolina and Vandy every year on the schedule anymore. And Kentucky, some years they're down, and Missouri, some years they're down. Now it's just a true kind of round robin-ish schedule. And so if your concern is, can Kalen Deboer handle the grind of the SEC? I get it. But the opposite is true too. Can everybody else handle that grind? And obviously it goes without saying, you don't need to be undefeated. You don't need to be an SEC champion to make that college football playoff because there's going to be 12 teams. I think the second thing, and this I do think is legit, can he handle the fishbowl kind of environment of the SEC? I think we all know, I think we all get that it is just a different deal when you get to the SEC. And even if you're at a major power, even if you're at a whatever, even a Washington's a big job. But Washington's in a city with a pro NFL team, Major League Baseball, hockey, they're going to get the NBA soon. And so I don't want to say you can hide when you're at Washington, but you can kind of hide. You can't hide at Alabama. There isn't an NFL team also in Tuscaloosa. They don't have a Major League Baseball team playing right down the street. It is all about you all the time. Everything you say is analyzed and overanalyzed. And what does it mean? And all that good stuff. And so to me, that is actually the biggest question. Can he handle that fishbowl? The final one is recruiting. And this kind of plays into why I think it will work. Recruiting is going to be a thing. Can he recruit at that high level? I don't know. I don't think he knows. But one, he's a smart guy. He's going to put together a great staff. And two, we know where this world is going. It's a collective NIL portal world. You know, yes, signing elite high school classes is very, very, very important. And yes, you're going to be able to because you're still Alabama. And for at least 4 or 5 more years, every kid that you're recruiting grew up wanting to play for that Crimson Tide. So I think he's going to be able to recruit. But even if it isn't quite at the level of Nick Saban, guess what? You're still going to be able to get players because there's so many players. It's the portal world, NIL world. You're going to be able to get players. And by the way, that's why I think this is going to work. Because guess what? You know what is the most important thing in recruiting? As important as NIL is, as important as your collective is, it's winning and proof of concept. And this is why I think it'll work. It is because next year, this is a guy, remember, he just played for a national championship. This is a guy who next year, assuming that we don't have a crazy exodus, and I don't think we will, because I don't think the Godfather Nick Saban's going to allow that. I think he's going to tell his players, you got to stick this out. We got to work through this together, even if I'm sort of in the building, but not really. But I bring it up because next year, Kalen Deboer is going to have the most talented roster that he has ever had in his career. Now, the schedule will be tougher than it's ever been in his career. But man, if you can do what you just did at Washington in terms of getting the most out of the players in that locker room, oh, it's on at Alabama. And by the way, I don't want to disparage Washington because obviously they had a lot of talent in that locker room. Joe Moore, award-winning offensive line, elite wide receivers, Michael Penix, etc. But let's also call a spade a spade. Michael Penix wasn't Michael Penix until he got to Kalen Deboer in Washington. You know, that line evolved over the course of the year. Those wide receivers evolved under that coaching staff. And so when I sit there and I look at this situation, I say, this is going to be the most talented roster that he's ever had. And there's so much infrastructure already in place. Yes, there are places that they need to improve. The number one spot is probably wide receiver. And that is a place that he is going to have a track record of producing pros. Rome Odunze is going to be a top 15 pick in this next NFL draft from Washington. And so when I look at the fact this is going to be his most talented team, when I look at every single thing that he did with the roster that he inherited and built at Washington, I think it's going to work because he got a ton out of those players. He developed the crap out of them. And I think more than anything, and I don't claim to be a scheme guy, a scheme expert, a scheme whatever, is that I sit there and say, when I look at everything going on, is that guy always builds a game plan, and I'm not a scheme expert, but around his players and personnel in a situation that puts them in the best position to succeed. So you look at the Texas game. Everybody knew they couldn't run the ball on Texas. So what is it? A lot of short passes, a lot of quick hitters, a lot of this, a lot of that. That was basically the run game. That's just one example of a coach taking the personnel that he has and putting them in position to succeed. And so when I look at this hire, I really do like it. We're going to have plenty more coverage this weekend. Aaron Torres pod on Monday, all of that good stuff. We'll have plenty more to react to. And I'll take some more time and really think it through this weekend, make a few phone calls. But I do like this hire. And I think certainly if you can win big next year, if you can compete for an SEC title, go to that 12-team college football playoff, win a game or two, and you can build some momentum off of what Nick Saban has already left you, I think you have a chance to be really, really, really good. And the way this guy schemes, the way this guy coaches, the way this guy gets the most out of his talent dating back to the NAIA days, I believe this is a home run hire for Bama. If you enjoyed this video, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips, new videos, new full podcast going up every single week. Make sure to subscribe. Appreciate your support. Plenty more Kalen Deboer this weekend.